All right, so in this lesson, you guys, I really just kind of want to introduce these things to you. If we see one on the test, it probably will end up being bonus, or you won't see very many of them. I will keep it pretty basic. It's useful information for us because, again, when we see something like this on a map test or an ACT test, it's math that you know how to do. You just haven't practiced it great length, so it's kind of challenging. So the first thing I want you to consider is if I have an absolute value inequality and I have a less than symbol, we think about with absolute values how we split and we say we want all of the values to the left and all of the values to the right. So on this side where it's a less than symbol, we need to write down that less than will always turn into an and compound inequality. And if we think about that, if we want all of the values that are less than 2 units away from 0, that's going to create our and compound inequality. So if I were to graph what this one looks like, we would have an open circle above -2 and an open circle above +2, but they're talking about all of the stuff in between. They want all of the values that are less than that are less than 2 units away from 0. So if you see a less than compound inequality, we're automatically going to split it and we're going to write it as an and. Okay, if it's a greater than compound inequality, we're going to split it and we're going to write it as an or. So those are the two main differences between them. Okay, so when you see those, again, we kind of already wrote this down. We had that up above. The or compound inequality graph is right here. The and compound inequality graph is right here. So if you want to pause and copy those things down with your notes, again, we kind of already had that up above, but that's going to be how we solve these. So again, all it's saying here is that we isolate our variable just the same. Watch for your negatives when you multiply or divide. But when we go to solve, again, pause and take a second to write this down. But for the sake of time in the video, I'm going to start writing in these right away. So first of all, I have a less than. I know a less than compound inequality. I need to rewrite it as an and. So when I go to rewrite it, I'm going to start with my negative number on the left. I'm going to put less than or equal to. I'm going to put the stuff that's inside the bars. I'm going to put less than or equal to, and then the positive number. Okay, if you can't perform that first step, you can't really do anything. Okay, so make sure that you can take that and convert it using that and compound inequality rule up above. Once we do that, we just isolate the variable like we did in the previous lesson, and we get -9 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to -5. And again, we've graphed plenty. At this point, we should be pretty good. We have -9 and -5. We should have closed circles, and we want the stuff in between. Now, if I want to go less than 0 units away from something, again, it's not possible. You'll see a lot of if possibles here. So if it's not possible for us to do something, I can't plug anything in that makes that true, then I'm going to put no solution. Okay? So I cannot plug in anything that will be less than 0 in for x there. Everything will be greater than 0. In this one, again, go ahead and pause and try these, but pay attention to this one here. You can't travel less than negative units away, so that one's kind of a special case. Watch out for it. You can skip the graphing on these. I'm going to skip it for the sake of time in the video. So on the first one, you should have -3.5, hold on, Ollie, is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3.5. I cannot travel less than negative units away from 0, so that one's no sol. This one, I have my -11 on the left. 2w minus 1 is less than 11. So I add 1. I get -10 less than 2w, which is less than 12. If I divide everything by that 2, I get negative 5 is less than W, which is less than 6. For the ORs, we're going to have to watch and pay attention. But if you try the ORs, again, we didn't have one of those in the notes. For the ORs, we have to write the inequality x plus 3 is less than the negative side, or x plus 3 is greater than the positive side. And then you just solve. So minus 3 from both sides. X is less than negative 11. And then you minus 3 from both sides here. X is greater than 5. For this one, if I add 3 to both sides, I get the absolute value of n plus 2 is greater than or equal to negative 3. No matter what I plug in, so we have a negative over here and it looks kind of weird. No matter what I plug in, that's going to be true because the absolute value makes that positive. So our answer for this one is all reals. Okay, this one we're going to add 7. We have 3 times the absolute value of d plus 1 is greater than or equal to 6. And then we divide by 3. So we have the absolute value of d plus 1 is greater than or equal to 2. And now we can do our split. So we have d plus 1 is less than or equal to negative 2, or d plus 1 is greater than or equal to the positive 1. So we subtract 1. D is less than or equal to negative 3, or subtract 1. D is greater than or equal to 1. Okay, so again, you guys, the big thing here is I wanted to show you this concept. I'm not going to get too carried away, so don't worry about these down here. I want to show you primarily the differences right here on this page. And as far as practice goes, what I'm probably going to do is post a practice test so that you can study and prepare for your chapter test on Wednesday. So if you get fixated and stuck on 2.6, really don't worry about it, because as you'll see in your practice test, there won't be a whole lot of it on there, okay? I just wanted to show you this concept so that you saw it before a MAPS test or something like that. Thank you.